Yeah, it's so funny, you know. Yeah, it's just my God, the practice is just sort of like fucking blown open lately. I'm like,
That's awesome.
Jesus, what? I mean, it's great. It's like I can't believe that the small little adjustments that I've done lately have produced this magnitude of blowout. Like it's
Mm.
really weird. You know, I mean, I would really normally have to like clear everything and dig into something deeply to sort of get maybe even expect that kind of thing.
Mm.
And I don't know. It's
What do
like
you think the those small things are that have been so like
I've gone back to, I've talked to Mark about this too, and I've gone back to the I Ching. He said something funny, which, is so common, but at the same time, sometimes you just forget. Like over the years, you forget because I remember, I mean, I've told you this before, but it's like when you can slog through stuff and pile in stuff and but when when push comes to shove, you always revert back to your strengths, what you know best, right? It's a natural fallback of that, right? And so I hadn't touched the I Ching in like I'm really like years and years, years and years. I mean, I haven't done it in years. Probably, I can tell you the last time I intensely was doing it was probably around between 2004 and 2005 when I was doing it as a regular practice for a while, you know. And so and I'm just sort of like going back to, like I've been doing that a lot lately, going back to the beginning and saying, okay, if I were starting fresh, brand new, how would I, what would I do? What would be my first step? What would be my second step? What would I start with? How would I introduce myself? How would I, like all of the normal things that I think of in sort of, you know, um, reestablishing that connection, you know?
how would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, because,
You mean to what? To the I Ching?
yeah,
Ah,
yeah, because there's several spirits that inhabit it. So, you're basically, the oracle itself is like the tarot. The oracle itself is channeling those spirits. Um, it's like a very sophisticated Ouija board, not a yes, no, and here's letters to spell out the answer, right? And so, um, how do you establish contact with them and how do you establish, like, hey, it's me. Maybe you don't remember me, but, I used to do this all the time. I learned from this guy. I did this, I did that. I use these texts. Um, but I want to reestablish that if, what, here's my main goal. Because it's usually like there's a diagram that you put one coin on and then and you're basically talking to it and then you're saying it's like I'm gonna um, here's here's my reason, my main reason for you know for picking this up or doing this. This is what I want to do, you know and then you ask a question directly about that, you know and it's a very simple, like, you're not even using a complicated divination method. You're using a single coin, the literally the most simple way to do it, and you're asking that question, something that's you know direct, right? And and uh and then saying, okay, and you throw the coin and write out the hexagram. It's a single hexagram because you're only using one coin. There's no moving lines, right? It's just a fixed hexagram in the end, you know. And so And that's sort of your, you know, the that spirit telling you about that one thing that you're asking about, like, um, you know, uh, here's what I think about you, um, you using this to achieve or to guide you to that, you know, and I was ready for like, I was ready the whole gamut from fuck you, you're gonna fail, don't even think about it, whatever, to like, everything's great, you're the best. And what I got was so fucking profound that I literally sat there and I just wanted to cry. And I was like, I could have never predicted what it would say to me. Like I wasn't in my, and that's when like it's like when you do meditations that you've done all the time and then something out of the blue happens, right? Within the meditation that you could not have imagined in your mind. Like that's when something else is, something other is there,
What
right?
did it say?
It basically, it said, you need to observe the situation. You need to observe yourself within this situation. And you need to see, like, you know, what you're asking, not a broad scenario, but you're asking for something. And before I can give you a direct answer, and before I even say what it is, it's like, this was so teacher like at like in a text format, it's exactly the way that, the most, it's probably the most accurate rendition of what any of my best teachers have ever said to me at one point or another, you know, like literally to the heart of the matter. And it was so striking to me. It's like, practically took my breath away. And I was just like, and it's like, before I can even give you what you're asking for, you need to observe, and you need to figure out your true motivations for this. I don't think that in asking it the way that you asked it, my thing is that you don't know what your true motivations are for this. So you need to do that. And I was like, I got to do, what do you want and why do you want it,
Mm,
for this question before I can, I need to know what's at the heart of this before I can even ask this exact same question again, you
mm,
know, because without plumbing the depths of that, you don't know where that motivation is coming from, right? You don't know what's driving this. And so, and it was just like, and it said a few other things, but it was like, true, you know, practice what you preach, man. It's like, you need to know where this is coming from before I can give you a judgment either way,
mm.
you know, and then, and then we can go from there. It's not like I'm denying you. It's literally like, which motivation is actually driving you to ask this? Which motivation is driving you to want this? You know, and if you don't know what that is, then there's no correct answer. And I was like, in a good way, but in a very emotional way.
Yeah.
It's like, it's exactly what I would say to somebody. It's exactly what others have said to me in the past. And now I got some spirit telling me the same shit. And I'm like, fucking, If it was physical, it would have like fucking given me the bitch slap and say, like, dude, how many times do we need to tell you this? How many times do you need to go through this? You
Right.
know, it's
Right.
like to get a good answer, you need to know, where is the motivation for what you're saying you want? Where is that coming from?
Right.
If you don't know that, then, and if, it's like, you can't just make shit up. I started writing that out and I was just like, this is going on and on and on. And I'm like, but you still haven't fucking hit it yet, you know?
Oh, you started to do the exercise. What do you want? Why do you want it?
Yeah.
And when
And
you're
it
doing,
told me, don't come back to me until you've done that. Do not pass go. Do not collect your $200. Don't fucking bother me until you get that done.
wow,
And so, I, started doing it right away because it's like, and it's just like fucking pages of dribble, until I'm
yeah,
like
right,
trying to get down. And it's like, Jesus Christ, it's like, where is the bottom of this shit? Where is this fucking coming from? You know? And
yeah.
yeah, so it's like, maybe that's what's opened all this up. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't even know, you know, but it started right around that time. And it's just like, it's fucking blown me out.
Well, it's just confirmation too of what I mean, in a way of what you are always saying about like the foundational practices. Because if that is the case, then it wasn't necessarily, I mean, it's almost like the coaching of the spirit of the I Ching is like, facilitating the insight, but wouldn't you say that like the thing that's probably fueling the like expansion thing is going deeper into the why do you want it?
That's it. That's it. And so I see, because that's the only thing I've changed.
Because you wouldn't put that like you wouldn't you wouldn't externalize the uh responsibility of the dramatic shift in the practice to that outside source, because the whole thing about our practice is that it's internal. So it's more like you you're doubling down and going deeper in within yourself through the exercise in a with a different level of intensity, with a different level of focus, because the advice that you received, was so clear and profound to you that it's like, I just got to go, like,
If I don't, it's like I might as well just hang it up.
right,
You
what
know,
am I doing?
my that part of my practice that I asked about is just gonna
Plateau.
it may even just
Right,
wash out, or it may just stay the same. You know,
right,
you can't take it any further without understanding where that motivation is coming from.
right.
So, and it's like, yeah, I mean, but then you got to do it. Then you got to do the work, and you got to, like, all I've been doing. I mean, I get in 3 to 4 intense burning meditations a week, and and just been, asking the questions, short questions at night, more profoundly, doing the reversal, observation of mind, like, just nothing fancy, like really back to basics, just to burn away debris and obscuration so that I can see what's going on, to get
Mhm.
deeper. And,
Yeah.
and that's it. So I know once I actually have it, then I can go back to it and say, like, it looks like this is my true motivation for wanting this. So, how do I proceed, or can I proceed? Is it worth it to proceed? Or, you know, am I barking up the wrong tree, basically? So,
Wow. That's really profound, actually. I mean, just thanks for sharing that because it really resonates with me, actually. Yeah, yeah, just I don't know. Yeah.
well, I mean,
because I think it's like with any of these things, regardless of whether you're trying to physically manifest something or whether you're trying to like next level lucid dream or whatever, the whole like why do you want it thing is like it's like you said, you could spend so much, you can and do even yourself spend so much time going through all of the like sort of not surface level, but like trying to get to the heart of something, but you're like you said, that core, your true motivation or whatever. um it's like you got to move a lot of crap out of the way to get to that clarity, and I
Right.
feel like that's one of the biggest things that, like when we were talking on the call the other night about um when you were talking about like what who, what deity or what god or what saint or whatever do you want to engage in a relationship with, or or try out or learn more about or whatever, and how do you determine that for yourself? And I was just thinking like, well, you could do it in the reverse way. Instead of even just like starting with looking at the external representations of that and like researching it, you could just start with like, what are the things that like I value most deeply, and then what is the
Corollary.
representation of that in a, like, and one of my things is always like, truth and like clarity, right? And when you're doing why do you want it for yourself, what do I want, why do I want this thing or this outcome or whatever, it's like you're literally like trying to get to the most pristine, clear, true view of you in that dimension as you can. And like, it's like, it's just amazing to me, like, how much crap there is that's like kind of distracting from that or layered on top of it, or it's like and writing, and I know for myself it's like writing all that stuff out, it's just like, it's like your mind just like I'm giving you this response, oh yeah, it's like, that's just kind of chaotic, oh this is whatever, it's like
Yeah.
it's almost like doing the writing, doing the it's almost like not it's almost not even as much about the exercise as like the level of like devotion and intensity you bring to it, and you're using that as like a focus to like to keep driving and driving and driving at something until everything parts and actually like opens up into um yeah, that clarity. But it's more, I mean, I feel the same way about my paintings, right? It's like I wish that every time I did a painting, I could just like put down a few, like say like, okay, I'm just gonna do a quick one and just like bang it out. Because sometimes it happens like that. But the norm is more like, I'm like, no, that's not quite it. No, that's not quite it. Scrape that
Right.
part off, sand it down a little bit, try it again a different way, try it again a different way, move it over here a little bit until it like continues to like resolve itself into
Right.
the clarity of whatever it is that I'm trying to reveal. But
Right. Right.
man, it's like almost annoying how much like how intense you have to be to like get to
Well,
that.
that's it. I mean, it's like after I read through it the first time, I was like, oh my God, there's so much fucking drivel here that it's like, if this was somebody else, I'd be slapping them. I mean, like at least verbally and going like, what the fuck, dude?
You don't know
Like,
anything about
you
yourself.
is it like
Do you even know who you are?
like even the superficial stuff, which I just put down because it popped into my head, like, oh, I like the adventure. It's cool. It's this, it's that. And I'm like, you're just listing shit that it is, but you're not saying why you like that. It's like, it's just like, it's just like, it's almost like it's almost like your conscious mind is afraid to reveal your deepest motivation because it will change the landscape of who you are. Because it's like a gong bell ringing when you hit it, and it's just like gong, and you just like you like that first time that it happened. That's what it felt like. It felt like somebody hit my head with a sledgehammer. Like it wasn't pain. It was just like my whole body started to shake. Like, and it was very dramatic. I mean, I haven't had many like that. but it's like I'm thinking that it's getting closer to that. It's like, but that's, because it's a core fundamental change in who you are, who you actualize, within you, who you actually realize, you realign and realize that's who you are, and that it's okay. And the fucking, sorry, but the fucking thing even said that to me, like said, like, you know, no matter what you come up with,
The spirit of the
yeah,
Ching. Yeah.
like you need to know that the one is okay with it either way. And I'm like, on one hand, it just seems so trite. And at the other hand, it was like, I knew it wasn't, that whole idea. Because my first response was, what would Jordan Peterson say about, like, you're great just the way you are, and it's like, I accept you for just the way you are. I'd be like, really? Because I'm pretty fucked up. Okay. So it's like, no, I don't think so. I could be way better than this. And it's like, and at the other hand, the harmonics that came through those words fucking pierced me. And it was like, what the fuck? You know? And I'm like, okay, well, you may be okay with me, but I'm not okay with me. So I got to find a way to be okay with me, and that means digging this shit out, and cleaning it up and finding what the motivating factor is so that I can truly know that that's what it is. And then I can go ahead clear-headed, you know, crash and burn or get to the highest level or whatever, but at least I'll know, you know, and it's really me that's doing that and not just some trivial thing, that I'm just grasping at,
Right.
so, and it's like, and it was just, and I think that's really, I really do. I think that that's what what started this last 2 3 weeks of just like getting like I'm telling you, I'm the last 2 or 3 weeks, I am more in a dream walking around in physical reality than I am in my dream life. It feels almost hazy, foggy, almost like looking through the allies, almost, without with not surreal, but just like not quite clear, and I think it's from trying to figure, like it's almost like that's a representation of me trying to dig in and find that core, and this debris piling up around me, and as I burn it off and even more, it's becoming a little, but it's making my physical reality not 100% real. And until I get to that core, you know it won't solidify again. It's almost like it's in flux somehow.
Right. Right. Right.
It's I've not had that scenario in this, using anything, like this, even using that technique of what do you want, why do you want it. I can't even tell you how many times I've done that, and I've not had this sort of apparitional kind of scenario pop up from that. And it's like it's the only thing I can pin it to. It I might be wrong. I'm you know I'm okay if I am wrong, but it's the only, and I know you can't always, cause and effect, things, but it just seems like it's so consistently that, because I haven't been doing a lot of other things. It's like it's spring. I'm just getting ready for my normal routines or whatever. It's like, oh, I designed these few things that I want to do through this year in the winter. And okay, now I'm going to put them into practice. And it's like, and then I started with that, and I'm just like, you know. Good pick. Might have to clear the calendar. So, yeah. So that's where I am, more or less, or that's where I'm not am.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
If I start phasing in and out, I'll be like,
Yeah.
you'll know what's happening.
Brian's flickering on Zoom.
I know, right? What's happening? Look, I got to get that screen. How's that screen work? It's a green screen.
Yeah,
Nope,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
really not there yet.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, it makes sense what you said too about your perception of things. That makes sense because it's like again, if I mean, I don't want to. It's another rabbit hole, really, but it touches on the external being a mirror of the internal.
Right.
I think that's almost comforting to know in a way, like regardless of what you're doing, that if you everything from doing something like what do you want, why do you want it in a very focused and intense wet manner, um, everything from doing that to something like plant medicine or whatever having a lasting effect on your perception of the world or your sense of things or whatever. It's like both of those things and everything in between, depending on how, with what level of intensity you're doing it, will, it's almost like, oh, that's good to know that those indicators like happen to you too. That's not just me.
Yeah, no, no. I mean, it is,
And not that like if you're not getting an effect like that, you're doing something wrong, but it's more like
correct.
if you start doing things and things like that happen, know that like it's like
You
that's
may not get that trying to figure out why you want a new car.
right. Or sure, sure, right, right.
You
But the
know,
closer you get to something that's at the core of who you are,
right.
it's like, well, you're digging pretty deep. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No bullshit.
yeah.
It's like, or you can write the bullshit down because that's clouding your judgment
At least
too.
just get it out of the way
Just
on the
get it
page
out
so
of
you
the
can look
fucking
at
way.
it.
As soon as you manifest it, man, you put it on paper, you ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You can
yeah,
reread that shit and just like dig it down even deeper.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So there you have it.
Cool. Thanks, man.
All right. Well, I like to relay that stuff to you anyway, just, because you never know when it's going to ping on something that'll be good for you as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So.